In this video, I'm going to talk about how bacteria and microorganisms work or compete with other organisms that are in their environment. So the idea of organisms working together or living closely in some sort of partnership is called symbiosis. And each member in the partnership is a symbiont. So there's three main types of symbiosis that can happen. The first is mutualism. And mutualism is when organisms live and they are obligated to live together, but they both benefit from the example. So they're both mutually beneficial from this relationship. Commensalism is when you have a member that's actually called the commensal organism, and the commensal organism receives a benefit from the cohabitation of the organisms, while the one that is co-inhabited, is neither harmed nor benefited from the relationship. Then the last is an example of parasitism. So parasitism is a relationship in which the host organism is needed for the parasite, and the parasite actually does potential damage to the host organism. Now, there are other relationships that happen in the environment, and these are called non-symbiotic relationships. So organisms, a majority of microorganisms, are free-living, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't interact with other organisms in their environment. So typically, they're either working in conjunction with or antagonistically with other organisms in their environment. A synergism relationship is a relationship between two free-living organisms that benefits them, but it's not necessarily necessary for their survival. So sort of an example might be like nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil. So nitrogen is important, and nitrates are an important nutrient for plants, and so a bacterial species that lives in the soil might be able to fix certain compounds and make them into useful nutrients for the plant. So these are both two free-living organisms that benefit from one another by living in the same environment. And so that's an example of synergism. Antagonism is when there is a negative relationship between the two in the environment. And this would be an example of, say, maybe a plant competing with a fungus for nutrients from the soil. And the plant might create an antifungal compound that prevents the growth of fungus around their root system or something like that. So that would be a case where they are competing for resources, and they're going to actively try and prevent another organism from gaining resources. And so this is antagonism. And what's important to note about antagonism is because of this sort of relationship, a lot of antibiotic compounds are created and antifungal compounds are created, and that's commonly why we're looking at plants and fungus to try and find these natural antimicrobial agents. Now here we're also going to discuss the relationship between humans and microbes. So we've already talked about this relationship previously, but all the organisms that live on or in us are called our bacterial fauna or flora. Also known as our normal microbiota. So they are microbes that grow on our skin and in our digestive system and on other sites that help us to maintain our homeostasis. So they assist us with digestion, they assist us in breaking down dead skin cells. So our normal microbiota live in a symbiotic relationship with us in order to keep us happy and healthy.